For those of you who are here in the US, we are headed into a holiday weekend. It's 4th of July on Tuesday, so most people are taking off tomorrow. Monday's a holiday, Tuesday, so we've got a nice long stretch of time in which you can maybe spend 15 minutes a day on something that matters to you. I don't care if it matters to anybody else. I don't care if anybody else even notices, but I want you keeping that flame inside of yourself lit. I want you connecting with your dreams and your creativity, with your voice, with your poetry, with your art, with your body, with nature. Go hug a tree for 15 minutes. Cloud watch, write a letter to your past self or your future self. So spend 50 minutes a day inspiring yourself. So when you are calling a service professional trying to get a refund or an account settled or whatever it is, or someone who owes you money, the main thing to remember in all situations where it feels like there might be conflict is to remember that you are both on the same side. And you can remind the other person that you are both on the same side. You can say, "Hi, airline representative. I know that you and I are both really interested in making sure that this trip goes really smoothly. I know that you and I are both really interested in making sure that I have an exceptional customer service experience with you all right now. I know you and I both want me to be really satisfied with your product. Here's where I'm getting hung up. Maybe you can help me." Because it's easy to feel like, oh, it's me against them, but it's never you against them. And some of you, Lori reminded me that it's Canada Day coming up in Canada. You guys are headed into a long weekend as well. Sometimes spending time with friends or family, you can feel like, oh, that guy's going to be there or that person's going to be there. And we always get into it. Remember that you're on the same side. You both want to have a really fun time at this party. You both want to have a peaceful dinner. I've used this example before, but even in your relationships, even in your intimate relationships, to say like, "Honey, is now an okay time for us to talk about something I really wish we didn't have to talk about?" And it's you and me against the fact that your schedule's out of control, or it's you and me against the fact that we haven't had sex in 6 months. It's you and me together against the fact that this house is a mess and nobody is doing anything about it. Apparently neither you or I are paid housekeepers. And when you stay in that alignment, Luke and I were just having a conversation the other day that got pretty deep. And along the way, we were both really congratulating each other. Like, this is so great that we can speak so deeply and honestly, because he knows that my only concern is his happiness and our health together as a couple. And his only concern is my happiness and our health together as a couple. And when that alignment is there, suddenly almost nothing's off limits. You can say, well, maybe we shouldn't live together. Maybe we should take some time apart. And it's not like an existential crisis and nobody's like, "Oh my God, you don't love me." No, we're exploring options and we're not breaking up, by the way. Don't worry. Everything's fine. But we were having the conversation and, but what does the future hold and where do we want to go? And what does it mean to look at it from the lens of like, well, what if we didn't live together all the time and not have that be a threat? Same thing, Julie, when you've got a dissatisfied customer, I've got somebody who's dissatisfied. I'm like, no, you and I both want the same thing, which is for you to be super happy. How can we do that? I will also tell you another trick phrase, especially for dealing with customer service people who are like, kind of like, "Well, ma'am, that's against the policy. Well, ma'am, we don't do that. Well, ma'am, the expiration's expired." Right. To say, okay, I hear you. I hear you're saying that as far as you know, this isn't possible. What would you do if you were me? And again, this brings them over into your side. This brings them into your shoes. What would you do if you were me? Just since we're talking customer service, the other side of that, when I was running the box office at Second City and it was often a madhouse and people were often angry, and they were like, "You gave away my tickets." I'm like, "Well, you weren't here on time, like we told you to be." And they would just be angrier and angrier. And then I would say, "Okay, I understand you're upset. I really want to help you have a wonderful evening. What can I do for you now?" And you could probably turn that around too if you're talking to them saying, "What could you do for me now?" "Well, I can get you into a later show." "Great. I can, give you a $50 rebate." "Okay." Right. So, and don't be afraid to go up the ladder too. Say like, you can even start the conversation with going, "Hi, my name's Sam. I'm calling about blah, blah, blah. I'm probably going to have to speak to your manager. So do you want to just put me there now?" And just be sweet. Just be the sweet, charming person that you are. John says that concept that we're all on the same side can work everywhere. Yeah. So relevant. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. It's the first act of war is thinking that you are separate or apart from someone else. It's a beautiful thing to remember. No, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to do good work and feel valued and have people appreciate them and feel loved and have people laugh at their jokes. Everybody worldwide, all humans throughout all time we want to eat good food. We want to have a good night's sleep. We all want the same thing. The things we argue about are so tiny. And again, they're all, to remember that those who are maybe opposite from you on the political spectrum or on the social spectrum or who have different beliefs than you, you all want the same thing. We all want to protect the children. We all want to make a better society. They're just going about it in a way that's different than the way you want to go about it. And that's okay. They're allowed. We might think it's stupid, but they're allowed. Right. But I was reminded early this morning about something I learned a long time ago. I was doing weight training, and the fitness instructor who was teaching me let me know that almost 100% of the people she talks to, when she says, how much do you think you can weight lift? They will say almost exactly half as much as they can actually do. They will underestimate themselves by almost exactly 50%. So if they say, oh, I think I can do 100 pounds, they can probably do 200. And I just thought that was so interesting. I mean, that we have a natural tendency to want to conserve calories, to want to underestimate and over deliver, right? We don't want to say, oh yeah, I can do, 200 pounds and then be like, oh, yeah. So my weightlifting face. And then I was talking in a whole nother context. I was talking to a guy who was a sales training professional. He teaches people how to make sales. And one of his really helpful tips was, he said, so if you're in the sales process with someone and you've made the offer and they're interested, and then they say, well, I'm going to need some time to think about it. And you say, great, well, how much time do you need? He said, they almost always need about half as much time as they say. So if it's Monday and they say, well, I'm going to need to know, I'm going to need to get back to you on Friday. You just say, oh, you know what? Friday's a zoo. How's Wednesday? I can get back to you day after tomorrow. Gosh, you know what? How's tomorrow? Let's just say tomorrow. They don't need as much time to think about it as they think they do. We don't want to not give them time to think about it, of course, but they don't need as much time as they think they do. It is also true that all of you, every single one of you, could double your prices today. And I guarantee you'll be so much happier. Your clients will be so much happier. Most of you could 10x your prices. Most of you could add a zero, but I know that kind of freaks you out. So just think about doubling your prices. If nothing else, at least for the new people. And maybe you send an email to the old people. You're like, well, I've got these old clients that are at this really low rate. Like, okay, but you can send them an email that says, hi, old client, I love working with you. I'm so grateful for, our relationship. And I want to let you know that my current rate is XYZ. As a, longstanding client, you are currently paying ZYX. As I try to bring all my pricing in line, I'd like to, we'll be raising your rates to this as of this date. And you don't have to raise it all the way to the new rate. You can just increase by whatever, 20% or something. But everybody raises their rates. It's an appropriate thing to do in business. You're not doing anybody a favor. And yeah, you might lose some people, but you're probably ready to lose those people anyway. You've probably outgrown those people. In addition to this doubling rule that, like, you can probably double what you can expect yourself to do physically. You can half the amount of time that people need for a sales turnaround. You can double your prices. There's also the Pareto principle, which tells us, which is the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your income comes from 20% of your clients. So you could fire the bottom 80%, but certainly the bottom 50% of your client list and not affect your revenue really at all. And those of you who are service providers know that that bottom 50%, the people who pay the least, are always the biggest pain. They always want special. They're late. They don't appreciate it. They bitch and moan. They nickel and dime. Like, it's a drag. Not 100% of the time, but a lot. Right? June says a no is often a yes waiting to happen. Oh, for sure. For sure. I always think of a no as kind of a not yet. Not today. Doesn't really mean no. It just means not today. And Julie says, great advice, not only for those household things I've been putting off, but also a relationship challenge I have. Thank you. Good. Excellent. Yeah. It's really beautiful to be able to say, and also, and even just to remember inside of your own mind, if somebody's going off on you and they're freaking out, to remember inside of yourself, they want the same thing I do. They are also trying to be happy, trying to feel successful, trying to feel joy in their life. We're not different. I put in the book, Start Right Where You Are, this little game that I play sometimes, especially when I see people doing behavior I disapprove of, people being really rowdy and disrespectful, or being pushy or being mean to a server or a salesperson. And I just think, there I am. There I am. I'm that person. That person is a mirror for me. I too have been rowdy and disrespectful, maybe in my own way, but I have. I too have been rude and dismissive. Yeah, there I am. That person is teaching me. And it just helps keep my mind in its own sphere, right? Because believe me, you don't need to meddle in anybody else's business, except for the unlikely event of an emergency, obviously. But generally speaking, Somebody else is having a conflict. You don't need to get involved. What's the phrase I heard one time? Rescuers get clobbered. There's no quicker way to get disappointed in people than to try to help. So when your help has not been requested. Sherry says, I tripled what had been my highest rate last year and did it for an existing nonprofit client. Thanks to you. No pushback. Woohoo, Sherry. Thank you. I will take all the credit. Thank you. That's fantastic. Tripled what had been her highest rate. No pushback. Yeah, because you're great. You guys are great at what you do. You're amazing to work with. You're fun. You're good looking. It's incredible. The other thing with the halves and the doubling, my family, I am notorious in my family. They laugh at me. It's okay. Because when we go to a restaurant, I automatically just eat half of what they give. And sometimes I wish I could say, just bring me half, put the other half in a thing. I'll take it home, because restaurant portions are just ridiculous. I mean, it's insane. So yeah, you can probably eat half as much as you think you need to eat and also be fine. And those of you who have been on calorie restricted diets know that that's 100% true, right? You just get used to it. I want to challenge you. Where could you half? Where could you double? Where could you say, normally I take an hour for lunch. I'm going to take 2 hours for lunch. Normally I charge $100. I'm going to charge $200. Normally I would ask for this to be done in 4 days. I'm going to ask for it to be done in 2 days. Where can you change your pacing? Right? That's really what I'm looking for, is what is your internal pacing, your internal ometer, your set point, really? And how could you push it a little bit, one way or the other, so that you've got more spaciousness, more time to relax, more joy, and more money? I mean, one of my favorite clients ever, the first thing I did was tell her to double her prices, and she just went ahead and did it. She didn't give me any guff about it at all. And 3 weeks later, she was like, I can't believe how much money is in my bank account. I'm like, I know, it's amazing. And really, if you doubt me, go check everybody else. Go check other people who do what you do. You will be shocked. So this trip to Crete, to Greece, I think I forget what the price on it right now is, but it's under $10,000. I was just looking at another teacher's offer, and this is somebody who's very good. I like him. I respect him. He's very good. So I'm not saying he's not worth it, but he's charging almost the same amount as our Greece retreat, not quite $10,000, but almost, for 2 days in Nashville, Tennessee, just at his house. He's giving you breakfast and lunch. That's it. No room, no private room with the private saltwater plunge pool, no breakfast buffet. Well, maybe he's doing breakfast buffet. No excursions, no snorkeling, no deep work with me and Amy about visioning the rest of your life. No, just 2 days with 20 other people in his house. Same price as a week in Greece with us. Pretty much everything included. I'm like, okay. Like all of a sudden I feel really confident about my pricing, because we're just giving you the moon and the stars on a platter. And he's giving you like a Triscuit on a paper plate. And again, not that his thing's not worth it. I think it probably is. He's very good, but so compare, look at what everybody else is charging, and you'll be like, what kind of moron am I? Plus, the less you charge, the more you don't, you're just attracting the wrong clients. The best clients are the ones who understand the value of what you offer. Can't wait to pay you in full. Like, let's go, let's do it. So we've got just another minute or two here. I know you all are headed into this holiday weekend. So does anybody have any other thoughts or questions or anything you want some advice on? I'm so glad you all are here. It's really warming to me. And some of you I see quite a bit, because a lot of you are in the Get It Done Lab and in the Get It Done Practicum, which, y'all, when we put this back up together and back up in the September, you have to sign up. This 15 minutes a day of work time is miracle producing. Keep your eye again on your email inbox. If you're not on the email list, go over to therealsambennett.com, get on the email list. Veronica says, we were gushing this morning about how incredible it's been. I know. And it's so simple. It's so simple. Oh my gosh, it's so simple. Clark says, what do you think is the best percent over on-demand printing? Oh, that's actually probably a Veronica question. Rosalind says, how do you deal with fear? That's a very big question. You remember, again, that you and fear are on the same side. Your fear is trying to keep you safe, right? The same fear that you have of snakes and poison and heights because you don't want to die is the same fear you have of visibility, exposure, being laughed at, failing. It's just trying to keep you safe. I think I would acknowledge it, in the same way that we were just talking about with obstreperous people, to say like, I see you, fear. I get it. You're trying to keep me safe. And we want to do this thing. So let's go. Grab hands, take the energy of fear and see if you can't transmute it into excitement. See if you can't transmute it into sex appeal. See if you can't transmute it into frisson, joy, and keep your animal self fed and rested. It's a lot easier to let fear take the wheel when you're tired, hungry, stressed out, overwhelmed, overcooked, and generally worn thin. When you are fed, rested, calm, you may still have fear, but it's not going to eat you up in quite the same way, right? You can talk yourself down a little bit. And again, 15 minutes. Tell your fear, okay, I know you're afraid. I'm afraid too. We're just going to do this for 15 minutes and then we can stop. We're going to write this book for 15 minutes. We're going to reach out to this person. We're just going to do it. And use the public accountability. Come back here next week and tell us how amazing you've done. I want to tell people how I walked with my fear into my future. Sherry says, I just registered for How to Turn Your Wisdom into Online Workshops. Yay! The How to Do Preview webinar bonus is priceless. I'm excited to get started. Sherry, you are singing to my soul. I am as proud of that webinar as I am of anything I've ever created. Like what Sherry's talking about is, so we just did an offer for Turn Your Wisdom into Online Workshops, which is an on-demand course we have. The sales page is probably still up if you want to go check it out. It's therealsambennett.com/WIOW, W-I-O-W. The sale pricing probably isn't there, but it's certainly still for sale. And you get a ton of bonuses with it, including this thing I created about how to do a preview webinar. And it really breaks down how to step by step do a training like this, where you can opt for something, some real valuable information. We've all been on those webinars where it's just fluff, 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 sales, sales, sales. Let me tell you how great I am. You have a terrible problem and now you have to give me money to fix it. Like, that's bullshit. We don't play like that. That's ridiculous. It makes me mad. It's a waste of time. I disapprove. There I am. I disapprove. But how to do a legit training that's useful for people who are never going to buy your stuff, because frankly, most people are never going to buy your stuff. But that doesn't mean you can't still provide them with value and good information. So how to do that, and then also how to help people get clarity on a decision about whether or not to work with you. Because that's all the sales conversation is helping them and you get clarity on whether you want to work together or not. We just want it to be a yes or no. We don't care what their decision is. We just want them to make a decision. We don't want them in that like, oh gosh, I mean, I want to, but I don't know, it's awfully expensive. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. No, that's not good for anybody, that kind of spin. We want clarity. So again, that's what we were talking about how to deal with customer service people. Sales conversation is the same way. This is you and I together trying to help you get clarity on whether or not this is the right thing. And me too. Sometimes I have sales conversations with people and I'm like, oh no, no, we're not working together. Let me refer you to my friend so-and-so. Because, nobody's more expensive than a bad client. Bar says, I'm in WeOut too, started the lessons and I'm so excited. Have to go now though. Thank you. Yay. Great. Yeah, we're at our half hour. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do one more round of breathing. I'm so delighted you all are here. I love having this time with you guys. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for doing this with me.